So the stage is set for the first of this year's All-Ireland semi-finals.
2015 was the year I had really a couple of goals set that year. I needed to play 4 games. I wanted to win an All-Ireland. I wanted to get an All-Star. I was really driven that year.
Waterford confronted with the biggest challenge of their season so far against the reigning champions.
When I was bending down, putting on my sock, and whatever way I bent down, I got a shot of pain into my lower back. And I froze because I knew it would start happening again.
Kilkenny won the toss and they've opted to play from right to left in the first half on a very, very still afternoon, very little breeze around.
Because the way I was looking at it was, if I go out here in the field and I have to be taken off after 3 or 4 minutes, that's one sub, that's after I've been taken off. The doctor spoke to me again and pulled me aside and basically said, look, you have to play this game. You'll be fine, you'll be grand. Once you get into the game, you'll be all right.
Maybe a very, very light breeze got it back Kilkenny for the only 35 minutes, and away we go. And straight away a pile up in the middle here.
Boots were on anyway, and I just said, here, look, I'll just go out and we'll see what happens and try and forget about it.
And he gives it to a Kilkenny man, Ger Aylward, and there were 3 possible players he could have played that ball to the goalkeeper. Instead, the pressure is going to be back on Waterford once again, and it's Michael Fennelly off his left-hand side and over the bar. Mistakes are being punished. That should have been a Waterford ball.
I was about 20 years of age and I found myself needing physio rubs before training sessions and before games, and it was becoming quite consistent. And I suppose nobody likes being up in the physio bed. You get a name for yourself quickly enough, but I needed it. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to train or play, and I was just having constant soreness, constant achiness, and a rub used to release that pressure for a couple of days, I suppose. So there was something going on there, but no one really knew what it was. And then it wasn't until my father got sick and ended up in hospital for a couple of days that they found out he actually had AS. I suppose ankylosing spondylitis was the word that was brought back to us, and first time I ever heard of it. Didn't know what it was, and even trying to spell it in Google was a challenge itself. And when I started reading up on it and started to look at the symptoms, I started to figure out, okay, I have that one, I also have that one. So in one way, it was a bit of satisfaction that I figured out that actually it wasn't just, it wasn't in my head that I had these soreness or these problems with my back. There actually was a condition. So you'd have a kind of a chronic achiness in your back, constant pain. It felt like my muscles were constantly stimulated, but it was a painful stimulation. And they're always switched on. Chairs now, couches, wearing shoes that had no support, they would kill me. But the AS kind of started in the middle of my back. That wouldn't have been the norm really for AS. Normally it'd be your lower back. But I went for my middle back for a couple of years where I had trouble breathing. My ribs, and I suppose the muscles around my ribs used to kind of tighten those areas, and breathing used to become an issue. And then I went down to my lower part of my back in maybe 2013, 14, 15. And that caused havoc for a while. I would have lost maybe about 9 kg over a space of 2 or 3 months in season because we just couldn't figure out what was going on. Yes, we've won the 4 in a row in 2009, and we were back on the Monday night in Kilkenny having a parade. And we'd open top buses, and we were up the very fronted with the cup of the bus, and there was a photographer on the other bus basically ahead of us, and he was called to me to lift the cup up and do the 4 in a row with his hand, and I was lifting the cup with one hand and I had my hand up in the other. He was kind of nodding at me like, no, put your hand up 4 in a row, and I was like, I'm doing it, and I looked at my hand, and my hand was obviously, my fingers were bent. And I didn't really notice myself until that time that I couldn't actually do it. And now obviously it starts getting worse again. So obviously the arthritis comes into your fingers and that. And it's probably only in the last couple of years that I've realised I get a lot of pain quick into my fingers. So there is signs of that coming, that it is gradually getting worse. But it's funny at the time. But obviously as the years go on, this will get worse. But again, what can you do? I think everyone's experience is going to be different. I think everyone's going to be unique to themselves, but I think it's very important to reach out and to talk to someone who actually has it, because back then when I had it, it was only my dad who had it, and I suppose the two of us were so new to it, we couldn't really understand what was going on. You could read up about it as much as you want, but I think talking to people who have it actually will help, and you can share your story, and I think you can share what works. Recently got a phone call from a mother who her son has it. He's 19 years of age, plays a bit of Gaelic football, and he's going through a bit of a bad time mentally, in particular in terms of accepting what he has and not being able to train, not being able to play. And hopefully I'll chat to him in the coming weeks when he's ready to talk. So I'm hoping this will create more awareness around it. And I think when I did speak to those people over the years, and it's only a handful, we got great pleasure in telling each other stories because they could understand what I was going through and even some of the things that worked for me. So I was able to share some of those kind of stories that I went through, and I think you get a lot of satisfaction from that. And yeah, because otherwise you're talking to people who don't know or understand it, and you'd never be embarrassed telling them about it. And as I said, listening to someone complaining constantly is not good. That's a drain in itself, to be honest. So I don't want to be one of those people. You can look at AS from 2 points of view. You can put your head in the sand and give out and complain, or you can say, like, look, what can I do? What's manageable? And for me, it's always looking at the glass half full. Life is too short, and there's plenty that we can do with people who have AS, without a doubt. As I said, it's about just sharing your story, understanding your own body, and yeah, just living life to your best, really. I'm Michael Fennelly, and I have ankylosing spondylitis, but it doesn't have me.